Rewind March 2020. The pandemic had hit the globe. It was only a matter of time until it reached your country or mine. Panic had set in as government and its citizens were trying to understand what was going on. As a father, I was under immense stress to fly down my son studying in the US to India before the lockdown gets announced. And as a CEO, I was under immense pressure to ensure the safety of my 3,000 member family at work and to ensure that the organization, and at that a health insurance organization, was up and running to the best of its capabilities in the middle of this unfathomable crisis. Hello and good evening to each one of you at this very special, very prestigious platform that I am delighted and humbled to be a part of. I am Mayank Bathwal and I run Aditya Birla Health Insurance in India. I've been with the Aditya Birla Group for 27 plus years. I grew up in Kolkata and have lived my entire working career in Mumbai since 1994. I have my lovely wife and 2 sons at home. I'm a fitness enthusiast and I believe in lifelong learning. While deciding what topic to speak on today at a stage that I hold in a very high esteem, I was initially in a flux, only to realize that amidst all the chaos, changes and profound moments of last year, there was a lot to learn. So while penning down my learnings, I realized that many lessons from across different decades of my life seemed to come together at the right time to remind, push and inspire me to face this situation with courage and patience. I would like to share some of these with you all today and hope that these resonate with you during probably the most unprecedented times of your life. Lessons from different decades of my life that helped me deal with the pandemic. I grew up in a joint family in Gorakhpur in North India, not very far from Kathmandu by the way, and lived there for the first 9 years of my life with my parents and uncles and aunts and many cousins. And we were bound by togetherness in our daily chores and activities. I was 9 years old when my parents moved to Kolkata in East India. And it was a big shift for us as a family, from North to East India, from a buzzing joint family to a small nuclear family. It would have been so easy to lose touch with the larger family. But my parents ensured that we stay connected with the larger family in spite of the distance. They made sure we visited, we called, we vacationed together, and that helped us all to maintain the relationships, and we continue to be there for each other, which set in the first lesson for me very early in my life, the power of connections. I used this learning even later on in my life as I grew up, moved to Mumbai for pursuing my career, and stayed connected with my friends from Kolkata. Not just the superficial social media connections of today, but much deeper relationships where we have been there for each other. This connection helped in many ways, including as support line for each other when the need arises, and also in helping the connected group to learn from each other. As we entered lockdown, there was collective chaos, confusion and fear. And at that moment, I dialed back to power of connections. In a time when we were all stuck at home with no social connections, I reached out both at personal and professional levels to my family, friends, colleagues, and even their families to draw on each other to sail through the very tough COVID times. Being in the health insurance industry, there were at many a times our own employees, friends and family members were in a health situation. And in a nationwide lockdown, it needed us to step out of our comfort zones to show up and be there. I was amazed to see how human connections drove people, at times risking their own safety, to step out and help wherever they could. In fact, that level of selflessness swelled me with pride to be part of this industry. At times, having answers may not be an option, but connections bring a sense of support and assurance that we are all in it together. So lesson number 1, I urge you all to connect, to reach out to your people, to support and get supported, to have small chats and deep conversations. It may not solve all problems, but it will make them easier to solve together. Moving on to my early 20s, I learned a very special lesson which stayed with me. I would like to share a personal story of how I learned a lesson which is probably the single biggest reason behind whatever success I have achieved in life so far. Just before my chartered accountancy final exams, out of the blue, my uncle told me that he would give me a car if I came within top 5 in India. I was a good student, but achieving top 5 at India level, oh no. My immediate response and reaction to my uncle was, "This is impossible. Please don't do a joke on me. I never really asked this from you, so thank you." But I guess my uncle had a very different thought, and somehow this stayed with me. Or should I say, hit me. I wondered if I should not at least try and go for it. So without really fully knowing, I started working on it. To add to the challenge, my CA training firm gave me a month's study leave against a normal 2 to 3 months. So after going through my initial moments of agony and wanting to give up at times, I decided I will put in my best. I was obviously not sure of how I'll fare. On the D-Day, I went to the institute to see the results, and to my utter disbelief but unparalleled joy, I was ranked number 5 in India. This was my first personal experience of how impossible can become I am possible if one only tries and puts everything into it. I think as a global community, we are still in shock of the sudden reality of COVID-19 situation in our lives. To be honest, no one knew the enormity of the situation, but what was very obvious is the feeling of uncertainty, fear and anxiety. As CEO of an organization, I felt at the crossroad of two choices: to let this virus take over our lives or to convert this into an opportunity, to contribute and thrive. And of course, I made the latter choice. I know it is easier said than done, and I'm in no way undermining the impact this deadly situation has caused in our lives. But I do very firmly believe that like all other challenges in life, we are inherently wired to stand up and face what lies ahead. I encouraged my team to think differently, to act with the resources that were available, and to prioritize customer care and assurance. And it struck me how doing our duty with resilience against the odds is sometimes all we need to make the impossible I am possible. Proven aptly, as my organization was the fastest growing health insurance company in India throughout last year in the most trying times. So lesson number 2, my friends, it may seem impossible, the light at the end of the tunnel may not be visible, but take that first step. Have the spirit of I am possible, and it will open up a world of opportunities in the most challenging times. Friends, as growing adults, many a times, many of us without realizing cultivate a victim mindset, wherein we believe situations conspire against us. When things don't go right, we believe that people want to make things miserable for us. Like many others, I also grew up acting like a victim. Every time something did not go as I wanted it to be, blaming my parents as a teenager, blaming my wife if things did not go well, and of course after a few years of marriage, blaming my manager if things did not go well at work. It does in a way gives us a false sense of protection to deal with problems we face in life, as we wire ourselves to believe that we are not in control of the situation. It's a pattern that we get used to in all spheres of our lives. Two people inspired me and made me see this pattern in my own life and changed it for the better as I now live it. In my early 30s, I happened to attend a personal effectiveness program run by two very senior professionals from Singapore. I joined it with a keen desire to learn, but not knowing exactly what. And I met this facilitator by the name of Ken. Ken introduced me to this concept of I am responsible for what's happening in my life. Don't get me wrong, life will throw its curveballs, but instead of accepting the situation as it is, but rather questioning why it happened to me won't make it better. That simple fact changed my life and how I started dealing with challenges in life. This learning was further nuanced by Sadhguru, a renowned Indian yogi and author. In his book Inner Engineering, he says, another way of looking at responsibility is believing that we have an ability to respond the way we want, to people, to situations, to life. And so learning to exercise that response in difficult conditions, difficult conversations, in difficult times is what makes us effective, is what makes us shine. COVID-19 happened and it continues to happen. We struggled and we continue to struggle. But for how long do you hold that fear? Do you hold that excuse? Do you make COVID-19 responsible for your actions? It's completely in your control. As CEO of a health insurance organization during the global health crisis, I was literally in the center of a situation. It impacted us in all possible ways. Our employees, our customers, our business. To manage business and to apply this whole lesson of taking charge, to not let COVID-19 define how we do, but rather to decide ourselves how we respond to COVID-19. It left many both shocked and surprised to see us grow on our trust and relationship with our customers and grow 50% over last year. Friends, lesson number 3, take responsibility as you decide how you respond to every situation that you face and deal with. Because no one can take that control away from you. Because the minute you drop control for your own life and actions, someone else will take charge. As I was making my way up the corporate world, there were times I, like many young adults, did not prioritize my health as much as I could have. In the early years of our youth, we all think nothing will happen to us, right? I would make good health my New Year resolution, but like 99% others, forget about this by the 15th of January. As I was closing in on an important life milestone of getting into 40s, a few niggling health issues started to crop up here and there. And suddenly, like many Indians turning 40, I also realized something needs to be done now. Incidentally, and not surprisingly, what better way to show to the world than by jumping into the world of marathoning. From nothing to running 21 kilometers. Strange. In 2011, at the age of 41, I ran my first half marathon. Little did I know of the impact that marathon would have on the rest of my life, and little did I know how running 21 kilometers was a bigger mind game than a body game. I realized the power of good health and the positive impact it had on all walks in my life, and I wished I had started this journey much earlier in my life. I also realized how important nudges from family and friends are when it comes to the matters of health. This realization that our health is probably our most valuable asset that we control inspired me to share this in my own way with a very large audience, and gave me and my team the courage to challenge the industry paradigm as we are setting up at Aditya Birla Health Insurance. It became the core purpose of our new organization, the reason of its existence. I feel so proud and humbled as a professional to have got an opportunity to motivate families to prioritize their health and well-being early in life, to be able to live their dreams, whether they were our employees, our customers, or our partners. COVID-19 reaffirmed globally that health and wellness is by far the topmost priority in people's lives now. It was a time of collective awakening. It was a time where every individual and every brand spoke about health, cared about health, worried about health. It was a time where people worked out online. More yoga mats got used at home than ever before. People followed home remedy solutions and spoke about mental health. It took a global pandemic to make us realize how a healthy state of body and mind is the first and foremost commitment we make to ourselves, our families, and at our work. So this last lesson, dear friends, health first, this one's for all of us who've been thinking of doing something about their health from tomorrow. All of us who think we are fit and nothing will happen to us. All of us who know we take it for granted and yet don't take that first step. Your health determines who you become. You don't need a pandemic to teach us the importance of our own health and well-being. With that, I'd like to summarize by saying these are very tough times, but remember to stay connected. Remember, I am possible. Remember, you have the ability to respond to any situation, to take charge. And finally, remember, there is no bigger asset you have than your own health. If these seem like a lot to do and you are wondering how to find time for them, let me share what Management Guru Ramcharan once shared with me. You will always have time for what is important for you. So get going, and I'm confident no pandemic can shake you thereafter. So take care, stay safe, and thank you for listening to me. Thank you so much.